ballast. What happens when we do that forward and aft limit center of gravity test and the airplane does not fall within the center of gravity range? So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the purpose of ballast. The types of ballast. Is it a permanent ballast? Is it a temporary ballast? Why do we want to add weight to the airplane anyway? So as we review this chapter, you're going to figure out what the ballast is, where we're going to load it, how we're going to use it. Is it going to be a permanent or is it going to be a temporary ballast? If we do the full aft or the full forward CG test and it does not fall in there, we're going to have to add some ballast to it. Why did it not fall into range? Was it something that's temporary? Did I pull a bunch of seats out for 2 or 3 flights and then I'm going to put them back in later? Or did I do that modification, that structural modification, and now I'm going to have to put a permanent ballast in? The difference between temporary ballast and permanent ballast, let's look at the permanent ballast. It's going to compensate for equipment changes or modification. It's going to remain in the aircraft for a long period of time. So we want to go ahead and secure it down to the aircraft. We could use lead bars or plates, but again, we're going to bolt them down. The farther we can get it from the datum, the less weight we need. So that's going to impact my useful load less. The closer I get it to the datum or the closer the center of gravity, the more weight. I remember I'm losing that leverage of that arm. I need to get it approved from the FAA before installing. So I just don't arbitrarily go to my airplane and just start bolting lead weights on it to bring it into the center of gravity. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to label that permanent ballast. I want it a bright color, a bright orange, a bright red, and I want to put on their permanent ballast, do not remove. I don't want some technician to follow me up and say, gee, what's this doing here, and start pulling that stuff out. So it's going to be identified, a bright color, typically going to be a red, and we're going to put permanent ballast, do not remove, because we want to make sure that stays there so that the aircraft later in life somebody doesn't take it out and all of a sudden somebody's flying this airplane and it's not within the center of gravity range. Again, it's going to increase the empty weight of the aircraft. It's going to decrease the useful load. So remember, the farther we can get that from the datum, the farther we can get it from the center of balance, either forward or aft, the less weight we need, so the less impact it's going to have on that useful load. Okay, so temporary ballast. If we're going to configure the aircraft maybe to fly for a few flights without some seats installed or something along this line here, we're going to, again, do our forward and aft CB center of gravity calculations. We're going to make sure the airplane falls within the CG range, but if it doesn't, we're going to use temporary ballast to bring that aircraft back into the CG range. We could use shot bags, maybe lead shot could be put in those bags. Anything we put in that airplane, I want you to remember, we need to secure that down to the airplane. We don't want it bouncing around in flight. The ballast is going to be labeled, do not remove, and we're going to need it. Requires weight and balance check. Should it be removed? That wants to be on that shot bag. We want that there so that, again, somebody doesn't inadvertently take that shot bag out of the airplane and remove it. We want to make sure that everybody is aware that that bag needs to be installed in the aircraft. The difference between permanent ballast and temporary ballast is the permanent ballast is going to be installed maybe in a cargo bay or someplace like that, whereas the temporary ballast is going to be installed in a cargo bay, but the permanent ballast, remember we talked we were going to bolt on the airplane somewhere. The temporary ballast, it's just there for as long as we have the airplane configured the way it is. So that, again, we're going to stick that in the cargo bay. We want to keep it secured, hard landings, turbulence in flight, stuff like that. We don't want that bouncing all around. Okay. Adjusting this center of gravity using the ballast. How much ballast do I need to install in the airplane? And how do I know how much I need to install? Okay, so in the process of installing the ballast, let's look at our chart here. And again, when we come to our chart, we have our empty weight is 1,850 pounds, and we have our center of balance weight. Our center of balance is at 92.45 inches. If I remember on this airplane we looked at last time, we said the farthest aft we can go is 92 inches. So we are almost a half an inch aft of the center of gravity range that we can safely fly this airplane. So we want to move that forward a half an inch. And we'll notice we've did an aft CG check. We've loaded everything aft, everything forward of the center balance is empty, everything after the center of gravity is full, or as full as we can get it, and we've calculated that we're 99.6 inches, and again, the farthest depth I can go is 99 inches, so I'm 0.6 of an inch too far back, okay? So I make a determination I need to install ballast, okay? Ballast needed. When we do the calculation, we determine that we're going to need 46 pounds or 46.6 pounds of ballast. We can't load 46.6 pounds. So we'll end up bumping it up to 47 pounds, and we're going to load it in the, let's back this up here, we're going to load it at the 39 inches after the datum, okay? So again, remember, we need to add that to the weight of the aircraft, so we've added 47 pounds, so our total weight has gone up, and then we turn around and we calculate the moment of where it's going to be when we add the weight and we add the balance and we add the moments. I go to 3,081 pounds with a moment of 304,880.5, and I slid that CG forward to just forward of the 99-inch mark, so I've brought it 0.6 of an inch forward, and you can see I'm at 98.96. So I am at the back wall of that center of gravity envelope, but I'm within limits. Okay? Aft limit was 99 inches. We're at 98.96, so we're good there. And we're either going to bolt it down, or if it's in the cargo bay, we're going to secure it and strap it down so it doesn't go anywhere. And you can look at the chart here that we've got. We can see the ballast we put in was 46.68, and we moved it 60 inches, okay, from the aft limit. So it was from the aft limit, we moved it 60 inches forward, and we've actually moved that center of balance 0.6 of an inch. So that brings that airplane back in to our acceptable range. Okay, so in summary of this module, we determined when and where we would use ballast, the purpose of the ballast, whether we want permanent ballast or whether we want temporary ballast. We're going to, we discussed on the permanent ballast how it's going to be secured to the aircraft versus the temporary ballast, how you would secure that to the aircraft. We also need to remember that when we start adding additional weight to the aircraft via ballast, that's going to impact the useful load of the aircraft. So the farther from the datum we can put that ballast, the less weight we actually have and the less impact it'll have on the useful load of our aircraft.